engage with those communities, how we could get to meet and see as many people as possible. We kind of did the standard, creating of posters. Went into the parishes, put these around schools, in shops, in post offices and things. Did leaflet drops, all the kind of usual things. We did media promotion, obviously through the local newspapers, some radio instances, parish newsletters, which were quite successful. And obviously we used sort of email, Facebook and Twitter, those sort of things. It worked really well. We did get some good consultations, some good feedback, and I think we reached most of the targets in that first sort of period. But I personally thought, and talking with students, we could probably sort of put those numbers through the roof in the next couple of parishes, and so sort of sat down and thought how we could engage with more people. Luckily, delivering the patch in our area, I obviously work for the local council, so I approached our elections team, and I used the electoral roll. So instead of sort of the admin heavy going into the parishes and meeting with everybody, although I still did that, we sort of did a one-hit targeting of the whole community using the electoral roll. So obviously it was done without using names, but it meant that every single household in that parish had an opportunity to feedback. Within those letters I put in questionnaires and prepaid envelopes, so used the marketing budget a little bit more wisely than sort of perhaps in the first couple of stages. I can't remember the sort of exact percentage that came back, but the feedback we got was through the roof. I mean, I had a pile on my desk like this, I had to sift through what people wanted, but although that was a bit admin heavy, it gave a real clear picture of what people wanted, what they needed, how we could deliver to meet their needs. So obviously we structured the next couple of stages of the project in that way, and we hit really good targets in most of the areas. So a couple of examples of how we met the need from the consultation that came back. It was actually, I think, the second project we did all together of how we used the village's money, was the creation of a basketball team at a primary school. We had the feedback come back that they wanted to set something up within the school. So obviously the beneficiaries of that funding were primarily the school kids. We also purchased a set of balls, bibs, some hoops to put in there. We had a lovely little caretaker. I think he was sort of reaching his latter years, but he was really keen to become trained up, so we put him onto a level 1 training course. Those kids then had a basketball after school club, out school hours. There was a coach within the parish that could then carry on teaching basketball, and we had teenagers come in afterwards and then adults. So a real good example of not much money being spent, but having sort of 3 or 4 teams and a diverse sort of demographic within the village that could access that opportunity. Similarly, in another parish, we just simply bought a set of crash mats for the parish council. Feedback was that they wanted Tai Chi classes, dance classes, karate classes. So obviously to sort of hit all those wants in one go, we purchased X amount of mats, put them in the parish hall. The various different groups and agencies could then access that throughout. So minimum spend and again, big target group reach. Community Sport Activation Fund, just starting off now, sort of 6 months in, I think. 6 months of again, three-year project. Very similar in nature, but focused much more on specified demographics within the community areas. It was a lot tighter sort of niche people we were trying to target, and limited funds to do this as well. So to make sure I was getting the right demographic again, I sort of identified these catchments using data such as the authority's strategic plan, people, places data, which I'm sure most of you are aware, and then through local consultations with sort of agencies such as the police, the NHS, fire service, county council, and parish councils. This again, once sort of sifted through the data, I could then sort of hone in on the key areas that wanted intervention and needed intervention, and there are different stipulations from age, risk offenders, what's the other? Older families. Older families, that was it. So we could really see the hotspots there and go back to Active Devon and say these are the areas we want to target, and this is how we want to go about doing it. Because the funding was limited and the timing was limited, I personally sort of thought that the best way of meeting these groups is to sort of put out a tender process. So we had like a and offer X amount of money to do this. Sort of tended out to local organisations that were already delivering in those patches to see who would be best placed to then meet these requirements and actually deliver against these targets. The underpinning ethos again was for sustainability. So one of the sort of the main backbones of that tender policy process, was to sort of see their ideas on participation and retention. That was sort of the best ways of ensuring that yes, we're going to go and do this intervention work, but then obviously there's going to be something at the end of it. It's not just going to be a quick fix. So sort of the more favoured applicants for the funding were those that had clear intentions of training individuals. We had a very good local football club who came forward and said they'd like the money. They trained up 14 members of their youth and teenage setup, and they actually went out to these hotspots, delivered, obviously got to know the kids, built up a rapport with them. Then obviously there was that tangible feedback into that club, and obviously having a face that's recognisable, that was key for them. Wanted to carry on with the engagement and then carry on with their football, and that's been really successful. Finally, I won't bore you any longer, was the Run England project, which was much more downscale than the other two, but personally one I found that was quite challenging. The idea was to create 100 new runners that had never run before or had once upon a time run and become completely disengaged and wanted to get back into running. The criteria was to set up 5 new groups, 4 run leaders over a 9 to 13 week period, which sounds quite easy, but the actual logistics and getting these people in, especially within the rural parishes, to come and have a centralised area for these people to keep coming with the catchment demand that they were new runners, was quite hard. But to do so, again, I sort of put out an offer to put individuals on courses. I sent 4 individuals onto a run leader course, and then I married those runners up with existing runners and lead runners from sports clubs. These were geographically based around the district to ensure that we could capture the most people in those specific areas that would be willing to come onto a running group. We then held taster sessions for these individuals to come, and then obviously, as before in the other project, there's an opportunity to then migrate back into the club. Especially with running, there's a sort of a confidence issue and a support basis that needs to be enthralled into the individuals to make sure that they're going to carry on with their participation, and having that recognisable face over a 10 to 12 week period sort of entices them then to carry on and to go back into the club and carry on. My main means of engaging the individuals within those geographical areas, again through media promotion and whatnot, I targeted particular demographics that I thought would most be likely to engage that aren't already running, and they were sort of things like new mums. So we went to local child agencies, groups, schools, targeted new mums, and we created a push-share running club group and sort of a social little network for the mums, which worked quite well under that banner. And then into GP into GP waiting rooms, and again it was just to sort of talk with people, trying to take the emphasis. It was said in the workshop before that yes, it's physical activity, but it's not necessarily a sport. We can cater for your needs, whether it's you want to run 20 miles, 30 miles, or you just want to walk around the park and start to get going. So I think in brief, certainly from sort of the area I come from, for me, consultation and engagement with the key areas and key sort of demographics is the best means of getting the most out of the opportunities that we have.